The night was thick with silence when the scream pierced through the darkness like a sudden storm. Arthur, the elderly veteran, collapsed onto the cold floor, his frail body giving way as the years of battle and regret weighed heavily on him. His estranged children, gathered reluctantly around him, stared in stunned horror. The room, dimly lit by a flickering lamp, seemed to close in with memories better left buried. His hands trembled as he clutched a crumpled letter, a final message written before his decline, now opened after a funeral that barely brought them together. The weight of unspoken apologies, missed chances, and harsh truths hung palpably. "I never wanted this distance between us," Arthur whispered, his voice cracking under the pressure of decades. The children's eyes shimmered with confusion, pain, and something unspoken, hope mingled with resentment. This moment was a shattering fracture, a moral earthquake that would change everything. Arthur's breathing grew shallow as the past pressed in on him like a relentless tide. His children stood frozen, the silence now thick with unresolved pain. They remembered him not just as a father, but as a man weathered by war, haunted by decisions made in smoke-filled trenches and quiet hospital rooms. The years had carved deep lines into his face and their hearts. He said quietly, "I was broken then, and I'm broken still. But the hardest battles were not fought on the fields, they were fought here." He tapped his chest, over the scars no one could see. This was no ordinary confession. It was the beginning of a reckoning that would peel back the layers of silence and regret, setting the stage for a journey none of them expected. His eldest daughter, Sarah, clenched her fists, her knuckles white with suppressed emotion. "We never knew you that way," she said, voice breaking. "We only saw the distance, the silence." The younger son, Mark, nodded silently, tears brimming but held back by pride and pain. Their mother's absence echoed louder than any words. They had grown up with shadows where love should have been. Arthur's gaze softened. "War took more than my limbs. It took my voice, my chance to be the father you deserve." The room seemed to hold its breath as decades of silence threatened to shatter in a single moment. The children realized this night was not just about an old man's collapse. It was about reclaiming what had been lost, if only they dared. Arthur reached out slowly, trembling, and took Sarah's hand in his. "I know forgiveness won't come easy," he murmured, "and maybe it never will. But patience has been my only true companion through all this." He looked around at his children, his eyes pleading for understanding, for a chance to heal the wounds left open for far too long. "There's a power in waiting, in enduring without breaking." His voice grew steadier as he spoke, a warrior finally laying down his arms, not in defeat but in hope. The fragile threads of family began to weave themselves anew, fragile yet alive, promising that the hardest journeys sometimes lead to the most unexpected peace. As the night deepened, a quiet resolve settled over the room. The old man's collapse had been a shock, but what lingered was the silent promise that this moment could be a beginning. "I've carried patience all my life," Arthur said quietly. "Not because it was easy, but because it was the only way to survive. Its hidden power is something you'll never understand until you've faced the longest battles, not against enemies, but against yourself." His children exchanged glances, the hardness in their eyes softening, the walls between them beginning to crumble. This was more than a story of pain. It was a call to endure, to forgive, and maybe one day, to find peace. The morning after the collapse, the house was heavy with unspoken words. Arthur sat quietly in his worn armchair, the weight of his years and secrets pressing down like an invisible shroud. His children moved cautiously around him, unsure how to bridge the silence that had stretched for decades. Sarah finally broke the quiet, her voice trembling but resolute. "Dad, why didn't you ever tell us what you went through? The war, the things you saw." Arthur's gaze drifted to the window, eyes clouded with memories. "Because I thought I was protecting you from the darkness inside me." He paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. "But in truth, I was hiding from my own pain." The walls of silence began to crack, exposing the fragile man beneath the uniform, the veteran scarred not only on his body, but deep within his soul. Mark stepped forward, his voice steady but laced with old pain. "We grew up thinking you didn't care, that you left us to face everything alone." The silence was thick, but Arthur met his son's eyes, raw honesty breaking through. "I was lost. I didn't know how to be the man you needed, not after what I'd seen. The battlefield changed me, turned my heart into something cold and silent." He sighed deeply. "The nights I couldn't sleep, the faces I couldn't forget. I thought distancing myself was the only way to keep you safe." Mark's expression softened, realizing the battles had been fought within, invisible and relentless. "You were fighting a war none of us could see," Mark said quietly, "and we were just waiting for you to come home." Sarah walked to the mantelpiece, where old photographs lay covered in dust. She picked up a faded picture of her father in uniform, young and proud, a stark contrast to the man before her now. "You were a hero once," she whispered, "but we never knew the price you paid." Arthur nodded slowly. "Every medal has a story of loss. I lost friends, my innocence, and almost my soul." His voice grew fragile. "I thought strength meant silence, hiding pain to appear unbroken, but it only built walls between us." The room seemed to breathe with history and regret. "Maybe patience," he said softly, "is learning to tear down those walls, brick by brick, even when it hurts." The conversation deepened, the air thick with confessions long overdue. Arthur's voice faltered, but carried the weight of truth. "There was a moment during the war when I had to choose between saving myself or others. I chose wrong, and that mistake haunted me ever since." His children absorbed the confession, the room charged with a raw, fragile vulnerability. "I never told you because I was ashamed," Arthur admitted, eyes moist. "But carrying that guilt alone only made it worse." His daughter reached out, placing a steady hand on his arm. "Dad, the past doesn't define you. What matters is what you do now." For the first time, the family sat together, not as fractured strangers, but as people beginning to heal, bound by shared pain and a tentative hope. As afternoon shadows lengthened, Arthur's voice softened, filled with quiet resolve. Patience wasn't just waiting, it was learning to forgive myself even when the world didn't. The children exchanged glances, the hardness in their eyes slowly melting. "You taught us strength by surviving, but patience by enduring without bitterness." Mark finally spoke. "It's not too late, Dad. We can find peace together." The old man smiled faintly, a spark of hope flickering in his tired eyes. The journey ahead was uncertain, the road to forgiveness long and winding, but for the first time, they faced it united. The hidden power of patience was no longer a secret. It was their shared beginning. The fragile peace of reconciliation was soon tested by shadows from the past. Arthur's youngest daughter, Emily, who had kept silent until now, spoke with quiet urgency. "Dad, there's something we never asked. Why did you leave Mom? Why did you disappear from our lives?" The question hung heavy in the room. Arthur's eyes darkened, the pain resurfacing. "That day I walked away not because I stopped loving you all, but because I believed my pain would destroy you." His voice broke. "I thought absence was protection." The children struggled with this, wrestling with feelings of abandonment and a father's flawed love. "I was a man torn between two worlds, one of duty and one of family. I chose wrongly." The room filled with unspoken truths, the first crack in the family's tentative new bond. Arthur took a deep breath and began to recount a memory he'd long buried. "During the war, I was wounded badly. When I came home, I wasn't the man you knew. The nightmares, the pain, they changed me." His voice lowered as he admitted, "I felt like a stranger in my own home, like I didn't belong anymore." Sarah reached out, squeezing his hand gently. "We only saw the silence, the distance." Arthur nodded, "And I was afraid I would bring more pain if I stayed." The confession peeled back layers of misunderstanding and fear, allowing a new understanding to take root. "I wasn't brave enough to fight that battle in front of you." The room softened, the children realizing the man's greatest enemy was inside himself. The family's past was tangled with more than war wounds. Arthur revealed another secret, a burden he'd carried alone for years. "There was a time when I believed I had lost you forever," he said, voice heavy. "Your mother left, taking you all with her. I thought I had failed as a husband, as a father." The children absorbed this with a mix of anger and sorrow. "I blamed myself for every broken moment." Sarah's voice was soft but firm. "We blamed you for the silence." Arthur's eyes filled with tears. "I was lost in my own guilt, but I never stopped hoping for a chance to make things right." The confession drew them closer, binding wounds with fragile threads of hope and shared pain. As the night deepened, the conversation turned inward. Mark spoke with quiet resolve. "We never understood your silence. But now we see it wasn't coldness. It was a shield." Arthur looked at his son, eyes glistening with gratitude. "Patience taught me to endure pain without breaking. It was the only power I had left." He sighed deeply. "I waited for the day I could face you all without shame." The family sat in shared silence, feeling the weight of the years lift slightly. In this moment, patience became more than endurance. It was a bridge, fragile but real, connecting fractured hearts. The journey was far from over, but the first steps toward healing were being taken. Before the night ended, Arthur shared one final truth. "I once believed patience meant waiting in silence, hiding my pain so you wouldn't see it." His voice grew stronger. "But patience is more. It's a hidden power, a quiet strength that shapes how we heal and forgive." Sarah looked at him with renewed respect. "You've taught us that strength isn't loud. It's in the waiting, the enduring." Mark nodded. "It's the power to face the past without fear." The old man smiled faintly, the burden of years lifting, if only a little. "And now," he said softly, "it's time we all learn to use that power, together." The room glowed with fragile hope, a family ready to begin anew. The fragile calm shattered with a revelation that pierced the family's newfound closeness. Arthur's voice trembled as he confessed, "There's something I never told you. The child you thought was your brother, Mark, isn't mine." A sharp silence fell over the room, disbelief and confusion rippling through the children. Sarah gasped. "What do you mean?" Arthur looked down, ashamed but resolute. "During the war, your mother and I drifted apart. She made choices I couldn't understand, and Mark was born from that distance." The betrayal stung deeply, the truth twisting the night's emotions. "I wasn't the man I should have been. I was blind, angry, and lost." The family grappled with this hidden fracture, their fragile trust tested in a way no one expected. Mark's face flushed with a mixture of hurt and defiance. "So, I'm not your son." His voice cracked, but he held back tears. Arthur nodded slowly. "No, but that doesn't change the years we shared or the love I feel for you." The room trembled with raw emotion. Sarah stepped forward, tears streaming. "Why didn't you tell us before? Why keep this secret?" Arthur's eyes filled with regret. "Because I was afraid of losing what little family we had left." The truth, once hidden, now stood between them like a chasm. But beneath the shock was something deeper, a painful understanding that family wasn't just blood, but the moments they had lived through together, even if built on fragile foundations. Sarah wiped her tears, voice shaking with anger and sorrow. "All these years, I thought you were the cause of our pain. But maybe it was me, blaming you for something I didn't understand." Arthur looked at her, hope flickering in his tired eyes. "This secret tore us apart. But it also means we must rebuild what's real." He paused. "Love isn't perfect. It's messy, painful, but it's the only thing worth holding on to." The family sat in silence, the air thick with the weight of new truths. Though shaken, their bond showed signs of strengthening, like a cracked vase carefully pieced back together. The hidden past no longer had to define them. They could choose to create something new, fragile but genuine. Arthur's voice softened. "Patience isn't just waiting silently. It's accepting pain and choosing to forgive, even when betrayal cuts deep." He looked around at his children. "This family is more than bloodlines. It's about enduring together, facing harsh truths without breaking." The room hummed with unspoken acceptance, the emotional storm calming. Mark finally broke into a small, hesitant smile. If patience means this, holding on through the worst, then I want to. Arthur nodded, pride mingling with relief. Then we move forward, no matter the past. The moment was bittersweet, the wounds raw. But hope was growing, patient, steady, and powerful. As night deepened, the family shared stories long buried, each revealing small truths and tender regrets. Arthur spoke of the hidden power of patience. It's not weakness. It's the strength to wait, to heal, to forgive even when you don't want to. Sarah and Mark listened, their hearts opening to a new understanding. The past's sharp edges softened, replaced by fragile threads of reconciliation. We won't erase the scars, Sarah said softly, but we can learn to live with them. Arthur smiled faintly. And that is the greatest victory of all? In that quiet room, with shadows dancing on the walls, the family began to knit themselves back together. Imperfect, wounded, but unbroken. The house was quiet, but the air crackled with the tension of unspoken truths now laid bare. Arthur's voice was steady but heavy with emotion as he said, "There was one final battle I never won, the fight to forgive myself." His children listened closely as he confessed how years of guilt and regret had shackled him. "I thought if I confessed everything, I might finally be free." His gaze drifted to the window, eyes searching the fading light. But freedom doesn't come easily. It comes through reckoning. Sarah stepped closer, voice firm. "Then let this be the reckoning. We're here, Dad, ready to face it with you." For the first time, the walls of silence broke not with anger, but with a fragile determination to heal, together. Arthur recounted a memory from the war, the day he lost a close comrade, a brother in arms. "I blamed myself for his death," he said, voice cracking. "I was supposed to protect him, but I failed." His children heard the weight of lifelong guilt in his words. "That night, I swore I'd carry the burden alone." Mark shook his head. "Dad, you don't have to carry it anymore." Arthur smiled faintly, tears brimming. "I'm learning that now." The confession was more than a story. It was a turning point where pain met grace and the possibility of forgiveness flickered like a distant light through the darkness. Sarah, with tears glistening, spoke of her own wounds. "We all carry scars, Dad. But sometimes it's the silence that hurts the most." Arthur nodded slowly. "I see that now. My silence built walls too high." He reached out to touch her hand. "Thank you for being brave enough to break through them." The moment was raw and real, pain acknowledged, and bridges slowly forming. "We're not perfect," Sarah said. "But maybe that's the point. It's the trying that counts." Arthur smiled, a tear slipping down his cheek. "And patience is what makes trying possible." Mark's voice, calm but resolute, filled the room. "I forgive you, Dad, not because everything's perfect, but because you never stopped fighting, even if it was against yourself." Arthur's eyes filled with gratitude. "Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves as much as others," he said. "I'm grateful to receive it from you." The room held a sacred quiet, the kind that follows a deep healing. The family had passed through the fire of pain and emerged with something precious, hope, fragile but unbreakable. "Let's walk this path together," Arthur whispered, one patient step at a time. As night gave way to dawn, the house breathed a new life. Arthur's voice, now steady and clear, held the quiet power of hard-earned wisdom. "Patience isn't passive," he said. "It's a silent strength that shapes how we love and forgive." Sarah and Mark sat close, feeling the weight of the journey behind them and the promise ahead. "The road will be long," Arthur added, "but together we carry the hidden power of patience, stronger than any wound, deeper than any silence." In that dawn light, broken hearts began to mend. This was not an ending, but a beginning, a testament to the strength found in waiting, enduring, and above all, forgiving. The days that followed were filled with small moments of connection, tentative but meaningful. Arthur sat on the porch, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun dipped low. "Patience," he murmured. "It is like this sunset, slow, steady, painting the sky with hope even as the day fades. Sarah joined him, her voice soft. It's what keeps us moving forward when everything feels uncertain. Arthur nodded. It's a quiet power we all have, but often forget until life forces us to remember. The family watched together, silence wrapping around them like a gentle balm. In those fleeting moments between day and night, they found a fragile peace, one born not of grand gestures but of enduring presence. Later, in the quiet kitchen, Mark prepared a simple meal while Arthur watched, a small smile breaking through years of worry. Cooking feels like patience, Mark joked softly. Arthur chuckled, and a little like war, knowing when to wait, when to act. The laughter was tentative, but healing. We're learning, Dad, Sarah said from the doorway, learning that life's battles don't always end with victory or defeat, but with understanding. Arthur's eyes gleamed with gratitude. That's the hidden power of patience. It's the courage to keep showing up, day after day. The kitchen filled with warmth, a quiet celebration of family reclaimed, one patient step at a time. One afternoon, Sarah found an old box in the attic, filled with letters and photographs. She called the family together, and they sifted through memories. Some joyful, others painful. Arthur explained, "These letters were my way of holding on, even when I couldn't speak." They read aloud, voices trembling with emotion, as the past and present entwine. "Patience isn't just waiting for time to pass," Arthur said quietly. "It's carrying the stories that shape us and sharing them when we're ready." The moment was tender, a shared embrace of vulnerability that softened old wounds and strengthened bonds, a testament to healing through patience and truth. Arthur sat quietly by the fireplace one evening, his voice steady and reflective. "I spent so long running from my past, thinking it would only bring pain." He looked at his children. "But the truth is, facing it together is what gave me peace." Sarah smiled. "We were waiting for you to come home, not just in body but in heart." Mark added softly, "Patience taught us that forgiveness isn't forgetting, but choosing love despite everything." The fire crackled, casting a warm glow on their faces, a symbol of resilience and the enduring power of family. In this shared space, the veterans' lessons of patience and forgiveness took root, ready to guide them all forward. As the night deepened, Arthur's voice grew soft but certain. "Patience is the hidden power in every act of love. It's the strength to endure pain, the courage to forgive, and the hope that tomorrow can be better." His children listened, hearts full. "We've all been broken in some way, but together, patience makes us whole." Sarah reached out, holding her father's hand tightly. Mark smiled. "It's the quiet force that keeps us standing when everything else falls away." The house was still, but within its walls, a powerful truth echoed. Patience was not just a virtue, but a lifeline, one that would carry them beyond the past and into a future shaped by love and resilience. The morning air was crisp as the family gathered in the garden, a space that had witnessed years of both silence and reconciliation. Arthur's voice was calm but carried the weight of a lifetime. "Some wounds stay quiet for years, hidden beneath the surface, until they shape the ones who come after us." He looked at his children, eyes full of quiet wisdom. "Patience is the seed that allows healing to grow, even in the hardest soil." The children nodded, feeling the truth in his words settle deep inside. It was a moment of reflection where the past and future met, a quiet acknowledgement that pain, patience, and love were forever intertwined in their family's story. Sarah spoke softly. "We've learned that patience isn't just about waiting, it's about choosing to stay, to fight, and to forgive." Arthur smiled gently. "Yes, it's the quiet strength in the face of despair, the courage to love when it's hardest." Mark added, "And the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go." The family embraced this new understanding, each of them carrying a piece of that hidden power. The weight of old regrets felt lighter, replaced by a shared determination to move forward with grace. In their unity, patience had become more than a lesson. It had become their legacy. As the afternoon sun began to fade, Arthur shared one last truth. Sometimes the only way to forgive your father is to become one. His children absorbed the weight of the statement, its bittersweet truth lingering in the air. "I hope you carry that patience with you," he continued, "for yourselves, for those you love, and for the battles you will face." The garden grew quiet, filled with the soft sounds of nature and the steady heartbeat of a family healing. In this closing chapter, patience was no longer hidden. It was a living force, a guide lighting the path ahead. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows as the family prepared to part ways once more. But this time the distance felt different, less like a chasm and more like a space filled with promise. Arthur's voice was steady. "Patience is the hidden power that teaches us to endure, to forgive, and to love without conditions." Sarah reached out, holding his hand firmly. "We carry it with us, Dad, always." The night wrapped around them gently, a silent witness to the transformation that had taken place. The story that began with pain was now one of hope, resilience, and a love strengthened by time and patience. As darkness settled, Arthur's final words echoed softly like an old proverb: "Some wounds stay quiet until they raise children of their own." The family stood still, the truth sinking in, a reminder that pain and patience are woven into the fabric of generations. Yet within that pain lies the power to forgive, to heal, and to transform. In the stillness, the legacy of patience whispered through the night, a gentle promise that even the deepest wounds could give birth to unexpected strength. And with that, the story closed, not with an end, but with an eternal beginning.